Hello and welcome everybody to today's presentation. My name is Marius Hess and I would like to talk about Firebase today. And I hope that in case you have an app idea after this presentation, you know whether Firebase suits you well for that purpose or yeah, maybe not. So let's have a quick look at the table of content for today's presentation. I would first like to give you an introduction into what Firebase is. I would then like to talk a bit about the different Firebase products that are out there, go through the pricing model that Firebase offers, and finish everything off with a use case on where you can see how you can integrate your Firebase product into your own app. So what is Firebase? Let's imagine you have an idea on creating an iOS, Android, or web app. And in many cases, it can be very complex to set up an IT infrastructure in the backend, because maybe you need an authenticator where people can log into their profile and write messages with a certain profile name. For example, if we stay in the context of finance, you want to create an app where people can discuss hot stocks, you do want to have this authenticator. Then you do need a database where all the information is stored and where you can also have access to them. You do need a server. And if you do a web app, you do need to host via a domain so that people from all over the world can have access to your web app. So all that being said, you do see that it can be very complex to set up an IT infrastructure where all of these services are connected to each other. And this is where Firebase comes in play, because Firebase is a scalable backend solution that is based on the Google Cloud and that manages all of the backend things for you. And you can pretty much focus onto the front-end development part. So to illustrate that, I've drawn this little graphic where you can see an ice block, and everything that's below the water is the backend. So Firebase in that case. And yeah, you can focus onto, be it React or AngularJS, whatever you use to create your app in the front end. And then you just connect the Firebase to that. And for example, if thousands of people are joining your web app, you don't need to think of, I don't know, any security holds or something, or you don't have to think about, yeah, whether you need to run another server or whether you have to change your database, or you don't have to worry about that. You can set up, for example, security rules within the Firebase, but everything in the backend is managed by Firebase. So let's have a look at the different products that are out there. Yeah, you have three different categories. You have the build category, the release and monitor category, and the engage category. And within each category, you have different products. So I think the release and monitor and engage category is more for like when you already have your app created and you want to get certain insights or yeah, get engaged with a certain segment of users or something like that. Whereas the build part is really like core functions that you need to create your app. You can think of all these products as Lego bricks, where you decide which products you want to integrate or implement into your app, and then you can pretty much stack them up and build your backend out of these different products. And whenever you feel like, okay, I could need this product as well, you can pretty quickly integrate it into your app. And yeah, as I said, I think for the beginning or in general, it's pretty interesting to take a look at the build section. So since I'm limited in time, I would like to yeah, go in more depth into the build section for this presentation. But if you're interested in all the other products that are, for example, in the engage or release and monitor section, you can easily take a look at the Firebase homepage and yeah, see what products they offer there. So the build category is based on these 8 products. So they have 2 different databases actually. One is based on a JSON tree, and the other one is based on documents which have a key and a value pair. And they are both NoSQL databases. And what's pretty cool, you have the ability to have yeah, a real-time database there. So whenever you trigger something or whenever you change something in the database, it immediately gets changed in the web app. And whenever you change something in the web app, it immediately gets changed in the database. So that's pretty cool. You also have the remote configuration feature, which helps you to test certain features, for example. So you do not need to run an update and people need to download this update, but within the Firebase console, you can, for example, say that you want to do a certain change to 10% of users, and then they get this change and you can see how their reaction on how it works, and then you can go back easily or change it for everyone. So that's pretty cool. You also have integrated machine learning modules. So whenever you want to create some machine learning into your app, you can see whether Firebase has this within the Firebase machine learning product. So there are things like textual analysis or image recognition. All these kind of algorithms are already in that product, so we do not need to start from scratch. What's also interesting is the authentication product. So as I said in the beginning, if you need an authenticator, you here have the ability to log into your Google account, for example, through that authenticator, or you can also through third-party providers such as Facebook or Twitter. You can use them and log there into your web app through these providers. Then you also have the cloud messaging product, which, for example, whenever you do something in the web app, trigger an event, you get a push notification, for example, saying that when you do this action, you get a message saying, please don't forget to rate our app from, I don't know, 0 to 5 stars, something like this. Then you obviously have the hosting part, where you can host your web page, so that other people have access to your web app. And this is also done in a secure fashion, so you do get a secure web app link, and it is also with low latency. So wherever from the world people want to connect, they have a very good connection to that web app. And cloud storage, meaning that when you have an app where people want to upload pictures, for example, they can easily do that. And what's also interesting, you can combine certain products. So if you combine cloud storage, for example, with authentication, people can share their pictures with other people that are authenticated, for example. So you can say to a certain group of people or something, they can share their pictures. So yeah, I hope you've got a good introduction into these products. And in the later demo, I would like to show you how you can integrate the database and the authentication product into your own web app. So let's finish the first part off with the pricing. Firebase has currently 2 different pricing models, the Spark and the Blaze plan. The Spark plan is the beginning plan or beginner plan, which I, for example, used. You do not have any costs, which is pretty cool. And you have, as I think, quite a lot of things that you can get started with. So 10K authentications per month, 1 GB of storage in the database, and 360 MB per day of data transfer when hosting. So if you have a small project to start with, the Spark plan is more than enough. And then it goes into the Blaze plan, which is a pay-as-you-go plan. So you have the Spark plan, and when you exceed a certain limit, you do pay extra. So for example, in the authentication product, you have 20K authentications per month, then you pay up to $0.01 up to $0.06 per extra verification. Or for the storage, you do pay $5 per gigabyte extra, or referring to the hosting part, $0.15 per gigabyte data transfer. So that's for the pricing model, and I would now like to get into the web demo. Okay, so welcome to the second part of my demonstration, of my presentation, the demonstration. So there are very great Firebase tutorials out there where you can see how to integrate Firebase into your web app. And yeah, for this demo, I've used the code from the Indian app guy. He created a to-do app, and he already integrated the Firebase Firestore database into his project. And I also edited an authenticator to show you how you can, with very little effort, implement this into your app. So let's take a look at the app right here. As you can see, I'm already signed in. So let's click on sign out to really go to the start. And I did it with Google. So sign in with Google, pop-up appears. And yeah, you can navigate it to the app. And then you can, for example, say, okay, I want to create a Jupyter notebook for the second case that we're having in this course. And yeah, all the app pretty much does is it adds a to-do right here, where you can see the status of the to-do. So if I check mark it, it gets changed to complete. And whenever I don't want to have it in the list anymore, I can also press the X button and it gets removed. So let's take a look at how the database has changed. So right now, when I put enter, I should have one entry, and this is this document right here. You can see these are the keys and the values. So you have the key in progress, which is true. You have the timestamp and the name of the to-do. And if I now add another to-do saying, I don't know, write code, you can see that another document is created right here in the database. And what's pretty cool here, and I will show you later I will show you later in the code. If I change the database right here, saying, for example, write code efficient, and I press here, it immediately gets changed in the web app as well. So that's very good that you have this real-time effect there. And also, if I go into the authentication module right here, you do see that I am connected here with my account. So yeah, you can also here set some security rules, which is pretty cool. Right now I've set this to true, but you can also set it to false. Yeah, so you can, when you start a project, experiment here a little bit. So let's have a look at how this is done in the code itself. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go into the project settings when you created your own project, and there you will find an API key and a lot of information concerning Firebase, and you want to copy paste this into your config right here so that you can integrate Firebase into your web app. First, you import everything that you need from Firebase. So Firebase from Firebase app, in my case, the authenticator and the database Firestore. Then, yeah, we paste this into the Firebase config, and then you say Firebase initialize app, and you give them all the parameters that are in Firebase config. And then you can create your object. So for example, your database right here, DB, firebase.firestore simply, and an authenticator auth firebase.auth. And then here you do everything. You integrate all the products that you need for Firebase, and then you export them. And then in your app itself, you can just import them so that when you do changes on your Firebase, you do them in this file, and then in your app itself, you just import it. So let's take a look at the sign-in function. It's really, really straightforward. You just right here say firebase.auth.google auth provider. So this is what I want to use. I want to use Google, and then auth.sign-in with pop-up so that you get a pop-up. And this is all really you need to do to have this sign-in function. Of course, you have to also create a button on click, but this is all not really Firebase, but this is the HTML part, so I don't want to get too much into that. But yeah, and then you can also create a sign out function so that you create a button where you press in and sign out and it gets just sign out. So that's really the authentication part. Let's take a look at the database itself. So what you want to have is that whenever you change the status here, that this is also getting changed in the database, and that when I remove a to-do, that this is also removed from the database. So this is done here. You just type db.collection.doc ID, so your current ID, and you update it to, yeah, the other in progress pretty much here. So when it's true, it is set to, or when it's set to, yeah, true, it will then be set to false, so that you have this this change right here. And then also when you pretty much click on the X button right here, you just type db.collection .doc and then delete. So it will be deleted in your here Firestore database. So there's nothing in there yet because I don't have any to do here. And then what you also want to do is you want to add a to-do, obviously, if you add a new one. This can be done here just by saying db.collection.add. Then you give the default parameters. So whenever I add one, I want the in progress to be true. I want to have the timestamp, and the to-do is pretty much just the string that I put in the field there. And then this is the live function, pretty much, that whenever I change it in the database, it gets changed in real time. In the web app, there's this on snapshot function that's pretty cool. So this is pretty much a listener. So it listens to whenever things are changed in the database, and then you can set this change and display it in the web app. So just type db.collection.onSnapshot, and then you pretty much here give them the parameters that it currently has and trigger an effect. But this is like React logic, so I don't want to get deeper into that. And then it pretty much gets changed in the web app itself. So I hope this is a good introduction for you to see how you can quickly add Firebase blocks into your project. And maybe this is something for your own web app. And yeah, thank you very much.